Jazz Chisholm's absolute debacle base running was just so embarrassing. I don't even think A-Rod gave you enough information on how bad it was. But everybody knows how I feel about Jazz Chisholm. This is a guy that doesn't shut his mouth. He opens his mouth too many times. He went to the All-Star game at the Home Run Derby and absolutely embarrassed himself in the Home Run Derby, only hitting 3 home runs. I've never seen a Yankee absolutely embarrass himself, as the Yankees call themselves, the Bronx Bombers. And Aaron Boone saying that it's gut check time is just being nice, because it's been gut checking time for the last 4 months. Since the season started, the Yankees have been absolutely disgraceful. Disgraceful. There's no excuses to this team and the way they've played. The pitching has gone from good to absolutely bad. You add these relief pitchers and you think, hey, it adds depth to the bullpen. And you think, oh, the Yankees are going to be great. They're going to be sensational after adding 2-3 pitches at the trade deadline. And obviously the Yankees over the second half of the last 3 seasons have been absolutely disgraceful in the second half when it comes to the bullpen. You look at Devin Williams, who's played a little bit better, has come back in the second half, has been up and down. And you look at this staff, really Max Fried, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball, really from the first half of the season, has been taking steps back. I know a lot of people are going to say he has blisters, and Carlos Rodon still has a 3.18 ERA, and everybody says, well, this is a good season for Carlos Rodon. When you're making $26 million a year and you're giving a guy like Max Fried $32 million, that's 50-some-odd million dollars, almost $60 million you're investing into 2 pitchers, and you're not getting enough hits and not getting enough runs behind these guys. It just shows you where the Yankees are at. You look at the Yankees and the situation that they're in. I said it before the trade deadline. They should have been sellers. They should not have been buyers. And I know, Jabba, you're going to get into how much the Yankees have to win in the next 50 games. You think they have to go 30-20 to even make the playoffs. I don't see this team having enough depth offensively. Aaron Judge comes back. Even if he adds that depth offensively that they've been lacking over the last week and a half since he's been gone, I just think there's not enough on this team to get over the hump. I still think, obviously, the Astros are going to be one of the teams that beat in the American League. I do also believe Detroit, even though they've been up and down over the last couple of weeks. The Red Sox have played better since the acquisitions that they've made. Even getting rid of Devers, I think the Red Sox have been better. I think Devers was a cancer in the locker room. I just think that this team just doesn't have it this year. Aaron Boone can make any excuse that he wants. Derek Jeter could say what he wants. Derek Jeter hasn't been on a baseball field for how long? 10 years? He hasn't been on a field for a while. And Alex Rodriguez is another one that opens his mouth. You want to talk about distinguished and stupid. How many times did we see Alex Rodriguez on the baseball field absolutely look like a jackass? You look at this roster. Who is clutch on this roster besides Giancarlo Stanton? Because it's not Aaron Judge. Jazz Chisholm, we know what he does in the playoffs. He's absolutely putrid, okay? We go to Bellinger. He looks like he is a good playoff player, but not with the Yankees. We have to see what he's going to do with the Yankees if the Yankees even make the playoffs. I mean, right now, this is not a good team. I don't care what anybody says. This Yankee team is not good. When you talk about trying to build a roster to win a championship, when you look at from top to bottom, when you look at the top 5 hitters for the Yankees, are you going to actually tell me with Volpe in the lineup, this is a good lineup, good roster? Volpe's had more errors in the last 4 weeks than I've seen any Yankee since Chuck Knobloch. Remember that? Does anybody remember Chuck Knobloch? This was a gold glove type of player. He comes from the Twins. He comes to the Yankees, has one good year at second base, and then what happens? What happens? He can't throw to first. He's throwing it to the fans. Throwing it in the dugout. It's to me, it's a big problem when your young superstar, as the Yankees believed he was going to be, can't really throw to first. He can't even throw the ball to second. He can't put the ball in front of him. To me, you got to send him down, but the Yankees have no depth at shortstop. And the Yankees were looking to add depth. Now, Ahmed Rosario is a good player, somewhat, against lefties. Is he a starting shortstop in this league? No, ask the Mets. If he was, He'd still be a Met. He'd still be a Guardian. This is not a good Yankee roster. If you look at the roster that they have on the bench, who you could bring in. Now, I know Grissom's had a good year. Is he really a guy that you want to bring in week in and week out if you need that offense? Come on, guys. He was up and down with the Padres. He wasn't a great player. He's been okay with the Yankees. In the beginning of the season, he was on a home run, tear for what? A couple of weeks. And then he's fallen off. The Yankees have no depth offensively. You look at the Dodgers right now. If the Dodgers fall apart at any point, Mookie Betts has had a terrible year. Mookie Betts, an MVP, has had a terrible year. They have guys that can pick up the slack. The Yankees don't. If Aaron Judge is not in the lineup, they're not getting offense from Giancarlo Stanton. And they decided to part ways with Gleyber Torres, who's right now playing great baseball. He's going to earn himself a lot of money after only signing a one-year deal with Detroit. Maybe the Yankees should decide to bring him back. He would have been a better option at shortstop than the one and only Mr. Volpe. Volpe's been absolutely terrible. And the Yankees have no future as far as I'm concerned with Volpe. And now you got to send him down. He loses confidence. We've seen Yankees over the years go down after this and never come back up. Clint Frazier being one of them. Remember that guy? It's just, and then you had the cat story over there, and then all the stupid things you heard from Clint Frazier when he was here with the Yankees. I am just so terribly stupid to believe that this team had any chance this year to make a run. That's the problem with the Yankees. They get guys, they're a tool player. They're either good defensively or they're good offensively. How many guys have we seen over the years that are 5-tool players that have been brought up by the Yankees? Honestly, if you go back and you look at it, Jorge Posada being one of them, Bernie Williams being another, Derek Jeter being another. And then we move up in the 2000 era. Alfonso Soriano wasn't a good defender. He was a good power hitter, and he couldn't hit for average. If you go up and down the Yankees rosters over the years, they haven't been good. 5-tool players, they don't grow on trees for the Yankees. They haven't grown on trees for the Yankees since the 50s, since the 40s. It hasn't been that good for the Yankees. Even Thurman Munson, when Thurman Munson was coming up as one of the great catchers for the New York Yankees, what was on that roster? Lou Piniella? I mean, come on. There was nothing. That's why they had to make a trade for Reggie Jackson. They weren't good. And that's the problem. What was the best prospect for the Yankees in the 80s? Roberto Kelly, who was traded for Paul O'Neill. We never even got a chance to see Roberto Kelly. Oh, I'm sorry. We saw Pat Kelly, Randy Velarde. Remember him? I mean, come on, guys. They weren't good. And then they bring in guys from Kansas City like Danny Tarnable, who had 1 or 2 good seasons when it came to power. The Yankees had a winning record in the 80s and could never get over the hump because there was no wild card teams in the 80s. And in the 90s, we all know Donnie Baseball could never get over the hump because Donnie Baseball couldn't stay healthy after the mid-80s. He had back problems. And then in the 90s, unfortunately, the Yankees slowly but surely found ways to draft players. However way they did it, the Yankees have not been that good since then. And Jabba, you know all about it because you were a first-round draft pick with Ian Kennedy.
That streak, too, because Husey was a little bit before us in the first round, too. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting how they've tried to, and I remember, I think it was 2010 when we got like Kerry Wood, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I think we had in that team, I think we had like 14 or 15. It was the most ever first-round draft picks on one team. And, there hasn't been many since that's happened. And, I mean, it's crazy. It was funny you mentioned Clint Frazier. He's starting to get back on the talking shit train about certain things, and
of course,
he's like, should I start my own baseball? Actually, he just said it today, like start his own baseball show, and then somebody's like, oh, you should team up with Clint Frazier, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But Volpe's been 3 years, so obviously it's enough to have a subject matter of like, yeah, it hasn't been a year, it's been 3 years, and we kind of see what it is. So. There's been, I wouldn't say, not lack of trying. It's like lack of when to use them, and if you have those guys, when do you bring them up? And it's something that we all kind of go around in a circle. Is like, do you bring them up to have the energy? Do you take that risk of maybe stunning his growth or doing whatever? So, and we're all kind of in agreement and disagreeing on certain aspects of how it works, but. There really hasn't been that many that you look at lately that have thrived, and been able to, not necessarily put the team on your shoulders, but carry the backpack. So it'll be interesting to see how it is. And like you said, to reach 90 wins, they have to go 30-20 in the next two. To get 90 wins. Like we didn't think that was going to be
I did.
an absurd number. There's only one team that's playing at that clip right now, and that's the Brewers. But yeah, they just lost some guys. But still, right now, that's the only team. So it's going to be tough, and it's going to be interesting to see how, when and if. I guess from the reports on Twitter, and Eric Boland reported too on Twitter that Judge is headed to Texas. They haven't announced anything yet. See, they're obviously going to have to make a correlating move with who's going to be sent out, because you're going to have to make room for him. And how that's going to affect Stanton. Haven't really read much if he's taking many reps in the outfield as of right now. That's going to take away at bats, and they're talking about maybe starting a throwing program with Judge here, but they haven't even said if he's going to come off. He's eligible to come off tomorrow. Will he? And I think that's kind of, he's headed back to Texas, so we'll see. There's a lot of what ifs at this point,
right?
And especially, with the lineup that they're featuring tonight, we'll see what they might go out and score 10 runs. You never know.
That's the problem, because Aaron Boone keeps moving around this lineup, and it's not his fault. Every Yankee fan is attacking this guy on social media. Keep doing this. And I don't think Aaron Boone's going to last after this season. I really don't. If the Yankees fail to make the playoffs, they're in the second wild card spot. I know everybody keeps saying he's tied to Brian Cashman, but you know Hal. Hal will keep Brian Cashman because they have a connection. They grew up together, like you said, Jabba, all these years with the Yankees in the organization. I don't know if that connection is still there when it comes to Hal and then obviously a guy like Aaron Boone. Now, Aaron Boone is a guy that I like. I do believe Aaron Boone, if he gets fired from the Yankees, I'm sure there are going to be 5 or 6 other teams lining up for him. I know guys like Fish and other people all over social media that have podcasts and Yankee podcasts have taken shots at Aaron Boone. Some of the lackluster moves that he made. Obviously, on Friday, what he did with that absolute debacle in extra innings with Jazz Chisholm and the Yankees. The Yankees have been a major, major problem when it comes to certain fans and the way they've played over the last couple of years. And the Yankees have really the Yankee fans have really blamed not the players, but Aaron Boone over the last couple of years. Meanwhile, Aaron Boone was the same manager that took that team all the way to the World Series. Yes, they choked in the World Series, but he still was the manager. And by the way, he was the manager of the American League East in the All-Star game. I know it doesn't matter, but he was. But nobody gives him credit for taking that team all the way to the World Series. And honestly, I could go back over and over and over again over the years that Joe Girardi was there. Was Joe really that much better than Aaron Boone? Not really. I mean, Joe Girardi had better rosters than Aaron Boone in his first 4 years. I mean, look, as soon as Joe Girardi got the manager position, what did the Yankees do? They added CC Sabathia, they added A.J. Burnett, and Mark Teixeira, okay? Have the Yankees done any of that since Aaron Boone's been there? Have the Yankees spent over $700 million for 3 players since Aaron Boone's been there? The answer would be no. So I know everybody wants to say that Aaron Boone is the complete blame for it. Hey, if the Yankee fans wanted Juan Soto, why were they bitching and moaning after the fact Juan Soto went to that press conference with the New York Mets and he said, he picked the right New York team. Goodbye. Farewell. Meanwhile, the Yankee fans behind the scenes were saying, we just lost Juan Soto for $768 million. Why didn't our ownership actually pay him? Maybe because they went after 3, 4 guys, gave them some depth, because that's what the Yankees were lacking in the playoffs last year. That's the fact. The Yankees have no depth. They have none. And they're going to overpay for Kyle Tucker in the offseason if he decides to leave the Chicago Cubs.
I would use it different. They have bodies, they don't have depth. Let me present you this question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're saying that Booney doesn't last past this year, right?
No, I don't think so. No.
So what direction do you go then?
That's a good question. And it's going to be with him. Because I think Brian Cashman is there for at least his contract. I think after this contract, Brian Cashman will step down. There's quite a few people that a lot of people believe could take over for Brian Cashman. 2 of the guys or girls that have been quoted to possibly take over if Brian Cashman ever steps down. I look at the manager position. Either the Yankees stay within. If I was running this team and I was the GM of this team like Brian Cashman, I'm making a call to Mark Del Rosa. That's who I'm reaching out to. I think Mark Del Rosa, he was Team USA's head coach, head manager over there. I think he has a lot of people's ears in baseball. He speaks very highly still of the New York Yankees. I've seen him on podcasts over the last couple of months, still thinking that the Yankees are contenders in the American League. There's something that tells me there is something missing when it comes to depth with the infield, and then obviously with the health in the outfield. And I think that if Bellinger does come back and they do extend him, he's got to play first base next year. I cannot see him playing in the outfield. They need more depth in the outfield. Maybe you add Kyle Tucker. But again, Job, I don't know. I don't know what the Yankees are thinking. They're going to probably hire somebody that's a part of this roster, this management right now, on the bench right now. Or do they reach out to Don Mattingly? A guy, Donnie Baseball, is doing a great job with the Blue Jays right now and is looking to add to another roster when it comes to a managing position. This is a guy that failed with the Marlins, failed with the Dodgers, and always wanted to manage the New York Yankees. He was brought up in the Yankees organization, never won with the Yankees organization, and he was passed up on Joe Girardi when he was being interviewed. And Joe Girardi did win a World Series in 2009, and Donnie Baseball took over for Joe Torre and could never get over the hump over there with the Dodgers. But I just think that Donnie's done a great job over there. I think you reach out to Don and see if he's a good fit over there. But the problem is, does Brian Cashman like Don Mattingly? That's the thing. And I know, Jabba, you're not a big fan of Brian, but I don't know what's thinking in his little pea brain over there. He's got a big head. The organization has a lot of big heads over there as executives. I'm not going to name any guys because I don't want to hurt myself if we're planning to work with the Yankees. But anybody that knows the Yankees knows that the Yankees have a lot of big executives and a round table speaking to Hal and giving their feedback on what they know. It's not George Steinbrenner anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. Unfortunately, if you're a Yankee fan, you can't be happy on what you're watching. This is not good baseball.